My guest today is Nick Huber. Nick runs a holding company which does more than 30 million in annual sales. The portfolio includes companies like Somewhere, Bolt Storage, Real Estate, Kostseg, and many more. On top of that, Nick has built an audience of hundreds of thousands of people, which gives him a huge leverage when it comes to capital deals and sales. Thanks a lot for coming to the podcast, Nick.
Mick, thanks for having me.
As I said a moment ago, my goal today is really understand how you think and who is this guy behind this huge, even though you're doing it behind your own name, who is this guy behind this behind this handle? So it all started. The Twitter game started April 2020. You started posting on Twitter, and 9 months later, you posted you've raised 5 million and met over 200 future investors for your real estate deals. Today, huge audience. So the first maybe question I would like to start with a bang. Where would Nick Huber be or work without Twitter today?
I think I would have 10 or 12 self-storage facilities, and that would be my main business today if I did not have Twitter.
Okay. And
yeah, 60 plus instead. So yeah, it's there would be no somewhere.com, there would be no RE Kostseg. Yeah, I may have gotten into some other things. You know, it's been 5 years since I've been active on Twitter, but definitely changed my whole world.
What's funny is even myself, I get people reaching out to me, like asking questions like how to grow an audience. And when I'm talking to those people, and these are like real heavy hitters, like doing big deals. They've raised a lot of money, but for some reason they would like to have this social media persona or platform. But the other thing, maybe what they don't understand is it's very hard to do this. And you posted, I went deep in 2021. You posted that you're spending like 2 hours per day, 14 hours per week on doing all this. But this has been the highest ROI of any work I've ever done and ever will do. So if you could conclude like how hard it actually is, because not all days are simple when it comes to posting and putting out content.
Yeah, you have to do two things. It sounds like your friends have done the hardest part, which is to do something interesting in their life. If you don't do business at a high level, I mean, look at the top 50 most followed people in the world on any social media platform, and they are the best athletes, the best artists, the most popular politicians. Everybody wants to follow people who they can learn something from or they want to be like. So if you don't know anything or have done anything or you don't have an experience, it's really hard. So luckily I had built some self-storage facilities. I had built a business. I was in the ground running a couple companies. And so I opened up, pretty deeply about those things and started to grow. Now, the second part of the equation is that you have to be able to write good copy. And you have to not care what people think, which is not always easy. And it's frankly impossible to fully not care what other people think. We're all humans. But yeah, I had a gift, man. The words flow. Like I can't stop myself from writing on Twitter. If I don't have Twitter installed on my phone, which it's not most of the time now, I'm jotting notes down in my notes app on my phone, or I keep a little notebook by my bed, and I just can't stop I can't stop the thoughts and things from coming. So it's whereas other people, they sit in front of Twitter and they just can't think of anything to say. That's never been a problem for me, unfortunately.
I've seen the best thing and the advice if someone has for me is just live an interesting life and just share the stories, and then it just comes. That's at least how it's been in my case.
But it's way different today than it was in 2020, 2021. I could write a thread or a story or a breakdown of one of my deals, and in 2021, I would get 3,000 to 4,000 followers. The same stuff now gets me 50 followers, and it would be way less if I had less. So I got very lucky with my timing on X. So I just don't think it's the same to build an audience today.
What is your take when it comes to being extremely transparent with absolutely everything? I mean, I know you have kids, you have a wife now, I know you have a dog. This is one side of it thing, but the other thing is that you're sharing all the details and all the Excel and all the numbers. Like, what is the upside? What is the downside of it?
Well, the downside's obvious. I mean, we can talk about what happened last year with an all-out takedown of several business owners on Twitter. But yeah, the upside is that people begin to trust you. They begin to know you. They begin to, follow you and buy from your companies, buy your book, whatever it might be. So with my open sharing, there's the downside and there's the upside, and the upside has far outweighed the downside in my life. I mean, 15 of my closest friends, probably over half of them are from people I met over the last 5 years on Twitter, several mentors. So yeah, it's been a network supercharger for me, which has been, frankly, just an accelerant. It poured gasoline on my career.
As we learn more from the things that are not going that well, I asked you from before we started recording as well, like, can I be brutally honest today? You said yes. So maybe you can share a bit like what happened? How was this period? And most importantly, I think, like, how were the days when it happened and how did you recover?
Yeah, it was, and what you're referring to is a person on Twitter who did a all-out takedown of me and my businesses first on X. This was in June, I think, of 2024, last year, or May maybe of 2024. Yeah, look, interest rates between 2021 and 2024 doubled. You went from being able to borrow at 3.75% to 7% on real estate. We bought $100 million worth of self-storage with debt, right? So our debt price doubled. It has been total chaos in the entire real estate business. Multifamily, industrial, self-storage, single family, medical office, you name the real estate asset class, and it has not been a fun 3 years in the real estate business because debt is everything for us. It is our lifeblood. Luckily, it's fine. Like, we've refinanced all of our deals. We did 0 capital calls among our investors. So we got out of it without losing a single property or without even asking our investors for more money. Most people can't say the same. Like, big time real estate investors are still in hell right now trying to recover and place debt and figure out what they're going to do with the buildings they bought in 2020, 2021, and 2022. So I'm super proud of that. And the guy was wrong, the one who tried to take me down. But yeah, it was a very difficult time when these posts about me and how I'm a fraud and I'm going to go bankrupt are getting millions of views, frankly, millions. So it got to the point at its peak when, the first 3 weeks of hysteria was all me. Like, before Chris was pulled in and before some of these other people were pulled in, it was all an attack on me. And my investors were calling me. I was taking meetings. My team was a little bit spooked. It wasn't as big a deal on the inside as it was on the outside, though. Like, I took maybe 6 meetings with investors. We're very, very open and transparent with really good reporting. So it frankly was kind of a nothing burger inside of our portfolio. But my team was a little bit nervous. And on the outside, it was terrible because millions of people were seeing these posts. Everybody from like high school group chats to country club group chats to friends in town group chats were like, holy shit, have you seen all this about Nick? Like, is he going broke? Is he a fraud? Is he a scam? It got to the point where I was playing golf in a member guest at my country club, a nice country club here in Athens. And this stranger runs up to me, did not know who he was. And he took a selfie with me. He's like, are you Nick Huber? And I was like, yeah. And he takes a selfie with me. And I'm just having a beer with my buddy playing golf. Then about 4 or 5 hours later after the round, I go to the bar and he's there and I'm like, hey man, like, what's your name? I was just trying to be friendly. Like, who are you? And then I was kind of like, what was the selfie for? And he goes, oh yeah, I'm in this group chat with a bunch of guys and they were talking about the LP Whisperer and Nick Huber. And I saw you, so I thought it'd be funny to go up and take a selfie with you. So it's like that, like people reaching out to my wife saying like, Michelle, I'm so sorry about what's happening. And she's like, what are you talking about? What's happening? Because I didn't tell her. Like, I was gonna bear that cross on my own without stressing her out. But yeah, it's a crazy experience when everybody who knows you or of you or all of your friends are talking about you behind your back, wondering if you're gonna go broke. So not a fun time, to say the least.
And how long it took for you to like recover, to how to say, like to be confident again, to go back to Twitter, to write some crazy stuff again, like things you're famous for, and people actually enjoy that, because what I've seen as well, like the people who come after you are like you and others who are doing something are oftentimes if you can say, losers. They themselves are not doing much because if you do something, you know that things sometimes are a bit hard. So coming back to the question, like how long it took to you to be back, like, okay, writing good stuff, being like 100% confident and just going on with your life?
Yeah, I never lost confidence in my businesses. I never lost confidence in my team. It didn't affect my mental state or my marriage or anything like that. But it was a hard couple months for sure. But yeah, I kind of just put one foot in front of the other, and like I was motivated to kick ass. I'm kicking more ass than ever. So it's
awesome.
Ultimately, it's a blessing. I think made me a lot stronger for sure.
I want to talk a little bit about the content and what it has done for you when it comes to the deals you've done. If you can share some of the structures, because it's very interesting. It's a huge leverage for you because you can just walk in, or people can come to you and you can just put out a great tweet.
Yeah, do you want to talk about the somewhere deal and how I put all that together? And I think
yes,
another very lucky thing about the whole situation was that it was at a time when I wasn't doing anything. I had closed the somewhere deal and raised $20 million about 40 days before that first tweet went out. If that would have happened 60 days earlier, when I was just starting to try to raise the money for that somewhere deal, everything would have been different, because it's different when you're in the middle of raises and you're trying to get a big deal done. It does make even rational people like question me. My reputation, I had to rebuild it over time, right? So it hit me at a very good time. I was not raising money for any big storage deals, and I had already closed the somewhere acquisition. So a blessing. But yeah, how I kind of use and think about my holding company. We can talk about content and raising money, but it's not a whole lot of that now, since I have 300 plus people who have invested with Bolt Storage over the last 6 years, and they trust us and they're telling their friends, and I kind of have that capital network now. But when Marshall approached me to sell somewhere, it was Andrew Wilkinson who had kind of vocalized an offer to Marshall at $47 million to sell 51% is what Tiny wanted to do. Now he wasn't. I'm not talking like he was on the doorstep about to buy the company.
47 million for 51%.
No. $47 million valuation.
Okay. Valuation.
51%.
Got it.
And it was going to be a unique deal. Obviously, all these deals are sort of unique with a cash component, all these different things. So I basically had an opportunity to either. And we don't know if it was going to go through, but it was vocalized. Like, here's an opportunity to potentially sell half of my shares. I own 12.75% of the company because I got diluted a little bit more when Sean Perry bought in. I can sell half my shares, 6.4% about, for almost $3 million. Like, it's not like generational wealth, but that's life-changing money for a guy like me. Or I can take a big bet. So over the next 3 months, I convinced Marshall to sell 51, a little bit more actually, 57.5% of somewhere to me.
And how did you put it all together? I mean, what was I guess you didn't have all the.
I'm going to do a little bit of math so I can get these numbers correct for you. So 57.25 is what transacted. From Marshall and his partner Jomer to me. Sean stayed in. So I own 12.75%. Today I own and control 70%. So yeah, the deal was a private equity tranche most, because I needed to get Marshall a chunk of cash. Between us talking about the offer and the signed LOI and like getting closer to close, the company continued to grow. So the price went from 47 to 52 million. I own 12.75% of it. I went into this deal thinking, okay, how much of this can I buy? How much of it can I get him to sell me? And how can I set up a deal where if I do my job and the company grows, I own as much of the company as possible at that point. And I realized really quickly that if I did this full 57.25% of the company in a private equity tranche, whether there be debt involved or whatever, I was only going to get about 20% of that from the ups, like 20% promote. That's what it's called. So times 0.2, I was going to get an additional 11.4% of the company. So add that to 12.75 that I already owned. I was going to own about 24% of the business, right? Now, that wasn't enough for me to take the risk and do all the work and put my name behind it. It just didn't quite make sense. So, I ended up doing 39.25% in a cash tranche. I raised 20 million, so 39.25, and I I'd raise that at about a blended promote of 22% about, because there's some people who invested under $1 million and some people who invested over, and the people who invested over $1 million got a 20% promote. So if I pay all of them back, it's basically no pref, no fees. I give them all their money until they're at 1x multiple on invested capital, and then I have a 22% blended promote after that. So if I get their entire cash back, I'll own 7.85% of that tranche in cash flow. Then we had 18% left to play with. Marshall was already going to get his $20 million from this private equity tranche, which is the cash he kind of wanted to take out the deal to sell his equity. But there was another 18% that I did a seller note directly from Marshall to me, to Nick Huber, with the business as collateral. So 18%, I borrowed $9.3 million from Marshall, which I have to pay him back with the equity from the business after tax. So the payback is a little bit slower because I got to pay tax on the money and then pay him back. But that basically gives me another 25.85% of the company. If I pay back and own that full 18% outright to me, and I get my 22% promote on that 39.25%, and then I already own 12.75. So all in, if this business goes well and it grows and I get the seller note paid back and all my investors made whole, I'll own 38.6% of the business.
That's crazy. How much did you pay for advisors to come up with all this, or you did it all yourself?
Yeah, so I did not hire an investment banker. I got a lot of advice. Talked to 20 of the smartest people I know, and they gave me their thoughts on how to put the deal together. You know, from Pomp to B Shore to Chris Powers to later it was Andrew Wilkinson, because he was going to potentially do something with me. We were very open about the whole like, what's the best way to do this thing. You know, Sieva and Xavier at Enduring Capital gave me a lot of advice. Just on down the list, I was just talking to anybody I could. And I hired attorneys to represent me, but there was no advisor.
And how has it been so far?
It's been amazing. It's been, I've learned a ton. I've been humbled. I'm excited as hell. It's stressful, but yeah, I mean, we're recording this on April 3rd. March revenue numbers will be finalized in the next few weeks, but February revenue was up 40% year over year.
I've had on the podcast Andrew from Tiny and Chris as well. I just haven't posted it yet. And what we discussed with Chris was like they had this approach with Tiny that whenever they did a deal, they felt like, okay, this could be the last one, or it must be so good that this is the last one I ever can do and will do. What about you? Has it been like this, or you already? So 2 questions in this. Have you already looked for other things, other companies doing the same things, number 1? And number 2, what it all taught you, all this you went through? Because I think the confidence level, and now you have the great track record of putting together like extremely complex deal, I guess.
Well, I don't have a great track record yet. Like I got to do my job at somewhere. You know what I mean? Like we're making more revenue, but we're also spending more money on growth. The structure of a business that does, you know, $800,000 a month of EBITDA is totally different than the structure of a business that's going to do 50 a year. So we're building recruiting teams with account managers. We're fine-tuning sales. We're fine-tuning marketing and leads. We're fine-tuning our referral program. We're fine-tuning how we source candidates, how we screen them, how we present them to clients. So we are changing everything at somewhere. Like I am very, very involved in the business. So like I don't have a great track record yet. I'll just say that. Like I got to do my job over the next 5 years to make this company very large. Am I still excited and confident that can happen? Absolutely. Like I'm more excited than ever to watch leads flow in and revenue flow in every single day as the company grows. But it's definitely the biggest deal I've ever done. It's definitely stressful. And I have no desire to buy another business in 2025. That's for damn sure.
Your team sent me the bio and all the information about you. In the portfolio, there are many other companies. How is your focus? And because I know there's a guy who speaks on social media as well, Alex Becker. I think he used to have like a t-shirt business, merchant business, supplement business. But then once he founded Hyros, it's like B2B media tracking business or something like this. He just went to the other guys who he was doing it together, the supplement business. He just said like, just take my shares, this is my gift to you. I found my thing. I'm going all in there. So what has been your approach when it comes to just focusing on this? Because this could be the huge business you build.
Yeah, my vision for somewhere is 250 million of revenue and 50 plus million a year of EBITDA. That's my vision. Not that it's going to be easy, but I think that it's going to happen. So I'm excited, really excited. Bolt Storage though is my baby. I have $60 million of personally guaranteed debt in that business. I still, just this week, was getting in a group team sales coaching call with our customer service reps and working through feedback on all of their calls because I spent an hour and a half listening to their calls with customers. So like self-storage is really, frankly, the potential to be a massive part of my net worth because we've built a company that can acquire and operate self-storage at scale, which is phenomenally valuable. So it'd be foolish for me to just turn a blind eye and not look at it. And the business is going well. Like last month, revenue up 15.5% year over year, same store revenue across our self-storage portfolio. So like really good things are happening, which means we're going to be able to buy more storage. You know, just the equity value is increasing drastically because when revenue increases 15%, like net operating income at a self-storage level can go up 21, 22%, which increases the value of our portfolio 21, 22%. So really good things are happening over there. And then RE cost seg is kind of the third head of this three-headed snake, and that it's exploding. Like Q1, 100%, year over year revenue growth. We're investing heavily in the business, so it's not super profitable right now, but just it's on its way to doing $1 million a month of revenue. So it's like massive. We're hiring aggressively in South Africa across all three companies, Bolt Storage, Somewhere, and RE Cost Seg. We've hired 75 people in South Africa in the last 3 months, from like revenue operations to head of finance to head of sales to a digital marketing head of growth. So it's getting the talent that's coming out of South Africa all through Somewhere is just absolutely unbelievable. But those are my three main businesses. Now, we shut down Huber Method sales training because Jeremiah came in and helped me rebuild my sales team for a year at Somewhere, like stuff like that, right? So Titan Risk is going to be a really good business over time. NickHuber.com, the brokerage, has potential. Ad Rhino and Bold SEO. So these businesses have potential for sure, but we shut down RecruitJet, not taking more clients right now at WebRun, the web development agency. So definitely some focus happening across the portfolio.
Now, another topic, hiring. You talk a lot about this. You do some webinars just to understand like how big of a difference it makes for you when it comes to outsourcing, like doing the US work with people living in South Africa. Just the numbers, just to get an overview when it comes to businesses you run.
Yeah, so I have 300 and it's changing every day, 325 employees across my portfolio. I have 20 Americans and we're doing 30 plus million a year of revenue. So that tells you kind of how big of a deal it is. But we have, I'm talking CEO, COO level talent, chief revenue officers, financial controllers. Who my head of finance at Somewhere was a controller at a 300 plus person company in Johannesburg. So it's just absolutely game changing. The Philippines has its place, and we still do a lot of hiring in the Philippines. It's still 40% of our hiring at Somewhere because the culture there is just so much ingrained, and like all the top talent in the Philippines work for US based companies. But when it comes to executives, when it comes to sales, and when it comes to finance and software engineering, there's just other places in the world that have unbelievable talent and specialty in those areas. Like sales and finance in South Africa is unbelievable. The smooth British and Afrikaans accents are very, very approachable to the American consumer. Whereas unfortunately, with the way that these big corporations use Filipino call centers, like the Filipino accent is not approachable for a high-end sales call, because instantly they know that they're talking to somebody there, just because the accent is so identifiable. So yeah, it's like Cairo, Egypt, for example, is one of the cheapest cities in the world to live. So you can find a finance professional who knows how to build private equity waterfalls or underwrite real estate or run models in Power BI or Microsoft Excel, $700 a month. Mind-blowing, right? And then there's places in Eastern Europe Estonia, Poland, Serbia, where you can find unbelievable software leads, like unbelievable software talent. Digital marketing, SEO, also headquarters there, as you know. Then there's Latin America, where the entire construction industry, is finding architects, project managers, estimators, civil engineers. Then there's the paralegals in South America or Latin America that we're putting into US-based companies for $1,500 to $1,800 a month for a total badass who can, be your executive assistant or project manager. So yeah, somewhere is also changing to kind of building full teams all around the world. And a shameless plug, like you can go hire through anywhere, but if you want to hire through me, send me an email, nick@sweatystartup.com, and I'll hook you up with a discount at somewhere.com.
Awesome. So I want to go back a bit, like a few years from the lessons you learned, because otherwise I think without those lessons you would not be there where you are today. And one thing you brought out, a mindset shift that really changed my life. Walk into every single interaction with the goal of adding as much value as humanly possible. Could you please elaborate?
It's a mindset shift that kind of has come to me over time, but it's something that's pretty shocking if you hear me say it right now. But it's true the more you think about it. And that is, every single person in the world is selfish. Every single person is selfish, no matter what. My wife married me because I can make her life better than she thought any other man that she could do. My business partner partnered with me because he thinks I can add more value to the company than dollars I take out of the company. Period. Every employee at my company works for me because it's the best opportunity that they could find at the time. And I give them either more money, more exciting jobs, more work-life balance. I give them something that suits them and their life and makes their life better. Every customer buys from me because what I give them is worth more money than the money they give me in cash. So if you realize that and accept it, that everybody's selfish, even that high-powered entrepreneur who sits down for coffee with you to give you totally free advice on your life, that's a selfish act as well, because it gives us as entrepreneurs joy to pass on our knowledge and to mentor people. People give money to charities because it makes them feel better inside. Like everything in life is a selfish act. So the amazing thing about this is that we live in a world of abundance where you can be selfish and you can also have other people's best interests in mind at the same time. Because 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 in business, and in life it can equal 3, it can equal 4, it can equal 5. So 2 parties can win at the same time. My wife can be happy and I can be happy at the same time. So it's a mindset shift that totally changed my life. And if you accept it and you walk into every single interaction thinking about the other person and what they want, it changes everything.
Could you share the story? I think it was the most eye-opener for you. Like you weren't a client, but I think it was a tax advisor or a consultant, or like it was an eye-opening for you, and you shared this story like some time ago. Could you please do it again?
Yeah, so this is one of the stories in the book that I think will be impactful, and I tell almost all these stories in the book. But this was 2015. We had our first really good year. 2015 was our first really good storage season. And we found ourselves sitting on $600K of cash that we had saved up over the previous years in business. We found ourselves, about to do a self-storage development. We just had a lot going on and a little bit of money. My buddy, who's a mentor of mine, he's 15 years older than me. He lives in DC. He's a wealth manager. His name's Jim. He called me into my wife and his wife are best friends. He called me into his office. He's like, "Hey, let's do a rundown. Like, I want to just make sure you're in a good spot." He sits me down in his office in his 3-story building in Reston, Mass. He got the whole top floor. He's got 60 employees in there. We scoot right through with the guy who owns the business, and it turns out he does this with all new clients. We go into the biggest conference room, and he sits us down, and we spend 1 hour breaking down my entire life and business and all my money, where the money's coming in, what accounts it's in, and he unloads more value on me in 1 hour than anybody ever has with, "Hey, I didn't know we were in the process of building a self-storage facility. I didn't know what bonus depreciation was or cost segregation." He's like, hey man, you're going to get like, you can get $600,000 or $700,000 tax write-off on this building when you're done. Like, this is how you need to do it. This is who you need to like talk to. By the way, do you have key man insurance? What happens if your business partner passes away or you pass away? How are you going to buy the other person out? It's not about like, I know you guys have enough money to handle the funeral. It's not about that. Like, how is your wife going to be able to buy Danny or how's Danny going to be able to buy your wife out of the business if you die? If Danny dies, how are you going to be able to buy his family out of the business? Who are you going to be able to hire to replace him to run the company? You're going to have some key man insurance on that. And just on down the list of all the different ways that we could plan and strategize and tax, just optimize for tax efficiency from being a C Corp or an S Corp, all the little things that we could do. So at the end of this meeting, there's a whiteboard full of all this advice and like the to-do list, basically. Nick's to-do list, of bang, 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 bang. And oddly, none of it was like, he didn't sell himself on any of this stuff. He gives me a bunch of handouts. He takes a picture of the whiteboard and he says, okay, like, we're done here. And I'm like, hold on, Jim, like, send me an invoice. Like, what do you normally charge somebody to do this? And he goes, oh, Nick, you got it all wrong. Like, I do this for free for all potential clients. I'm like, okay, like, I'm here visiting. Our wives are best friends. We drank 20 Coors Lights last night. Like, I understand why you did it for me, but like, how in the world does it make sense for you to spend an hour and do this for all the other people? And he goes, Nick, do you realize the people that come in here and sit in my office? Like, they have business problems, which guess what that means, Nick? They have money. They have influence. They have a lot of things going on. They are high-powered individuals. They are, if I were going to rate my clients from 1 to 5, they're the 5s. So I don't send them an invoice on the first meeting. I don't talk about money on the first meeting. I don't sell myself on the first meeting. I build trust with them. And guess what, Nick? 30-40% of them sign up with me and move money to me on the spot. And he's like, the rest of them call me 6 months later when they have another business problem and they become my client and we enter a paid relationship. Because I build the trust and because I add the value to their lives. And my mind exploded and it changed the way I think about everything. Now, not every sales environment you can apply that to. It's not a sales strategy you can use for everything. People will walk all over you. You will waste time. You got to be really careful about that. But in certain situations, like proving you're an expert, building trust, and adding as much value as possible, it just comes back around. It comes back around.
I guess you've been doing that. I've been reading your emails, which you sent once a week. You're sharing a lot of valuable stuff there, and this is you doing it on scale. And what I've seen happen on social media, oftentimes the goal is to go from online to offline. I guess this has happened to you many times because you said you have a list of 300 investors now.
I give people my thoughts on self-storage facilities all the time. They text me, they email me and say, hey, Nick, I'm looking at buying a storage facility. I'm like, okay, number one, I promise I will not reach out to this owner or sick my acquisitions team on it, but drop me a pin, tell me where the building is, tell me how much revenue per month it's bringing in, and I'll tell you about how much it's worth. And I do it, and we've gotten 5+ deals that way, of deals that we have bought by being completely honest, not sneaking behind anybody's back, but by building trust, show them we know our shit, and turns out they can't close on the deal or they're not interested in it, or they find another one that's a little bit bigger, and guess who the first person they call is?
How do you protect your time now? A lot of people want everything from me. I reached out to you as well, wanting you. I'm selfish. I wanted you to become on the to come on the podcast.
I'm selfish here too. I want to sell books. So go to click the link in the description and buy the Sweaty Startup.
So how do you protect your time? I think you have a lot going on. At the same time, you have lots of fans, investors, employees, friends, your family, your kids, your dog. How do you manage it all?
Yeah, I have to say no to a lot. The unfortunate truth is that I have to say no to a lot and I have to hurt people's feelings and I have to disappoint people, but there's 300 unread text messages on my phone right now. My team doesn't answer most of the emails that come in. But yeah, I have to relentlessly say no to things like business opportunities that are amazing. A really good business opportunity came to me through a friend in Charlotte. He's like, hey, I got this historic property downtown. I want to do this plan. We launched Bolt Builders, which is a company with my father, and we have a back office of architects and engineers in Latin America, and we're doing pre-development plans, like built to spec plans for multifamily and historic buildings. It was right down the wheelhouse for us to do a lot of that work and for us to help this guy raise some money on a home run project. I sent an email. I was like, hey man, like talk to my business partner, talk to my dad. but I don't have the bandwidth. I'm sorry. So yeah, as business is such a funny thing because momentum kicks in and the opportunities just get better and more exciting and better and more exciting and better and more exciting. And I know I'm going to jump on a lot of them that I probably shouldn't in the future because it's so fun, but I have to turn down a lot of things that could be profitable and really fun.
There's a lot going on. When do you do your best thinking? And how do you maybe capture capture those ideas? Because what got you here today was big part is the social media part. We've covered it all. But how is it today? Like, when and how do you do your best thinking? I
wrote one thread on January 3rd of 2021. And that one thread gave me 40,000 followers. I got invited to a group chat the next week with a bunch of influencers. And that trajectory changed everything from that one thread. I wrote that thread at 9 p.m. after spending 3 days and nights in a cabin in Tug Hill in the middle of nowhere on a snowmobile with no internet and no cell reception. And I got back and I was totally exhausted and hungover as shit because I gotten drunk the night before. There's no reason why that inspiration should have come to me right then. It still comes to me once a month, once a week, whenever, but I never know when it's going to hit. But that hit at 9 p.m. and I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I got to go write. And she knows that when I say that, there's nothing she can do.
Okay, funny. Again, you have lots of crazy stuff going on. Some things maybe you don't even wanted to be like this when it comes to so quickly, as you're still very, very young. But you decided to write the book, and you mentioned it comes out on April 29th, but you said that this was one of the hardest things you've ever done. 2 questions. Why did you decide to do that? And what makes it hard?
It's one of those things like business in life is an adult marshmallow test for sure. The longer you can delay gratification, the better. So some of these projects that take a year and a half, 2 years, this will be a 18-month project for me. Actually, more like 22 months from like idea, start spending money, start working, to writing the proposal, to getting the book deal, to then starting the process. I knew I needed to do it because it would accelerate my career. And I knew I needed to organize these stories before I start to forget them. Because over the last 5, 6, 7 years, I have talked to hundreds of entrepreneurs who have built massive wealth in very unique ways. I tell these stories in the book, like super tactical stories about how these people, normal people doing normal boring things, make a shitload of money. So I knew I needed to organize it because I have out there a ton of threads and a ton of writing and a ton of newsletters, but it's all over the place. It's not coherent. It's not, organized. So I knew I needed to do it. Then I found out how long of a process it was going to take, and I put it off a year because it's just it's a daunting task. And then I decided to do it when things got slow in the fall of 2023. October 15th, I think, is when I sold my book deal to HarperCollins. I got my actual book deal in the advance. And then 3 weeks after I got the book deal, Marshall called me and told me about the Somewhere deal. So the timing, I kind of had already committed to the book. I'd sold the book. I'd got a $500,000 advance from HarperCollins to write the book. And then I all of a sudden also found the biggest opportunity in my life coming knocking a couple weeks later that I couldn't turn down. Now, why was it so hard? I can write, man. I can write on Twitter. I can write newsletters. It just flows. So I thought it was going to be easy. I wrote a bunch of tweets and bullets and, 4-word sentences like I do. And I turned in the first copy to my editor. It was 80,000 words. And she's like, Nick, this doesn't work. Like, none of this works. We have to structure an actual coherent story. And we have to clean this up in a major way. Go back to the drawing board. Hire an editor to help you. Not a ghostwriter, but somebody to keep you on schedule. Somebody who knows how chapters are supposed to function. Somebody who's done this before. And come back to me with a new copy. So I spent the next 4 months writing it again. And it's like I'm used to a world where I can write a tweet and then 30 seconds later I can see what people think of it. I can get instant feedback. So it's a very unique feeling to be in your own head writing a chapter or multiple chapters or a section or a whole book over the course of 18 months and not knowing what the feedback is going to be. So there are many times where I write a chapter and I'm like, holy shit, this is the best book I've ever written. I really wish I would have had to, if I'd have been able to read this when I was a young entrepreneur. And then there are many, many, many times where I get done with a chapter and I want to wad up and delete the whole goddamn Google Doc because I think that this is shit. Nobody wants to read it. Who am I to write this book?
I have few questions to understand, like how you think about, for example, operators. If you were operators and investors, if you were able to design a great operator and investor, what are the 3 things you'd want them to learn?
Well, I think operating a company is a muscle. I don't think it's a skill. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's something that you can study and learn. It's a skill, obviously, but it's not something that you can learn from a book or a school or a podcast or a YouTube video or following people on Twitter. Like, the only way is to get out and make decisions and see the results, and make decisions and see the results, and make the decisions and see the results. I spent 10 years in a brutally hard business making the best decision I could and watching the result. And that taught me how to handle pressure. It taught me how to lead people. It taught me how to take chances. It taught me how to handle stress. It taught me how to sell. It taught me how to delegate. And eventually I got better at making decisions. Now, am I a great operator? There's people that are way, way better than me. But I think the best investors have that past. Unless you do it at, look, I think people study Warren Buffett and what he's done is unbelievable, but that's not really that relatable to a person trying to buy a recruiting business or whatever it might be.
So as you've seen a lot of, you just said covering this on your book as well, met a lot of extremely successful entrepreneurs when like them making loads of money in very niche industries. So the question to you personally as well, obviously you thought about this, like how do you know if and when to go deeper? And I mean, putting all your focus on somewhere or real estate, because this is like both of those things work. Both of those things could be huge. So how do you know that or like the decision behind like I should go all in with this or that? Because again, both of them could be like $1 billion businesses.
Yeah, I think I can go in on all 3 because my job as CEO and leader is like making key operational changes, meaning going in, looking at how your team's doing something and making a decision to make it better. Hey, we're going to change this. Or it's hiring and chasing people. That's the only 2 things I do. I don't have a job inside the business, but I'm in the business all the freaking time. Like right now, I'm rebuilding and upskilling the sales teams at all 3 companies. All 3 at the same time. But guess what? I hired a badass head of sales from South Africa at all 3 companies. All 3 companies have a very talented head of sales. We have one at Bolt Storage, we have one at Somewhere, and we have one at RE Cost Seg. So I have that person executing and doing the work, and I'm tactically working with them all the time. I'm having meetings with them because right now is a sprint on the sales perspective at these companies. Okay, then then a different month, it might be the sourcing. Like we're going to really focus on sourcing it somewhere, or we're going to focus on engineering at RE Cost Seg, or we're going to focus on acquisition team and our revenue operations at Bolt Storage. So if you have really talented people that can help you do a lot of the work, you can be phenomenally impactful quickly inside of some of these companies.
In which phase you are at the moment? I think there is a saying in English that at the moment there is not a time to smell roses. It's time to like work and grind and focus. In what stage or phase you are at the moment?
I'm in an all-out sprint at the moment. I'm working 60 hours a week right now, 70 hours a week. But entrepreneurship is a funny thing because it comes in waves. From 2019, from 2017 to 2019, I probably worked 20 hours a week. From 2019 to 2021, early 2022, I worked 60 hours a week. From 22 to late 23, early 24, I was back to not having a whole lot to do, frankly. So I think it's beautiful because you can step in and kick ass, make very high leverage decisions, and then step out and let your team do their thing. But I am absolutely very ambitious at the moment, very hungry, very motivated, and I'm kicking ass. So yeah, it's fun.
Who do you are taking advice from? Who are you talking to? You said like 7, 8 people out of 15 you found through Twitter. Are those these the people you're discussing ideas with, problems with?
I think discussing ideas and problems is kind of I don't want to say what you do in your downtime, but like it's time for me to execute. I know what I need to do. Like I need to improve my sales team. I need to improve my recruiting team. I need to improve my acquisitions team. I need to improve my engineering team. And then when the momentum clicks and you start to make these decisions and it happens, then you step back and look at the businesses unemotionally and start to think and get advice and start to figure out what is the next focus. But I feel there are times in life where I don't have a lot of clarity on what is my exact focus. Right now, right this minute, we're recording this on April 3rd, I feel like not only do I have very clear focus on what I need to do, but the executives at my companies also have very clear focus and clear priorities. So it's a good feeling when you're in that, but it's also tiresome and long and hard for sure.
That said, what is the most painful part of your journey that nobody sees?
I mean, look, when you do big things, when you've raised $50+ million from 300+ people, when you have 325 people and families who depend on you inside your companies, problems come at you all the time. So people think owning a Holdco is, roses and private jets and travel. That's not realistic at all. Like, yes, you can put great people between you and your problems, but the big problems always come to you because my name is on this.
And let's say there is a day that things are not going as planned, if we can say that. What do you do? Do you go and play golf, or you go to the forest with kids, or what do you do to prepare yourself for tomorrow?
When things aren't going well, I have to put my head down and take it on the chin and do the work or make the decision that needs to be made. But I also do have balance. Like I stay fit, I stay healthy. Me and my wife go on date nights. I have a lot of great friends that I spend time with. I spend a lot of time with my kids and go camping with them and hunting and hiking and ride bikes, whatever it is. So that's one of the advantages of a holding company, I guess, and having three big companies is that it's pretty rare for it to be going very poorly at all three at the same time. Like you'll take a loss at this one, maybe a key person leaves or you lose a client or something goes wrong, but then you look up and this one here like has 100% year-over-year revenue growth. So it's you can't get emotionally tied to any of it, I don't think.
So I guess a lot of your friends and obviously parents, wife, they've seen this growth, like Nick today versus Nick in 2017 is two different people. So a personal question, whose approval do you still care about, even if you don't admit it, or you're just an iceman, like just doing your own thing?
No. Like I absolutely am a human. I do care what people think. I weigh the opinion of people based on who they are in my life. Like there's one end of the scale, which is the anonymous person in their parents' basement on Twitter who I care very little about now. But then on the other end, there's my wife and the people who are closest to me, and then my very close friends and mentors who I trust and believe in. Yeah, but look, I take constructive criticism very well. I always have. Somebody has a problem, somebody thinks I'm making a mistake, I encourage it. I want to change my mind. I take the feedback and opinions very seriously. So I just think it's critical. So if at any point I change and I become arrogant and think I know everything, I have 15 people in my life who will slap me around, which is a beautiful thing.
Okay. So I think we covered it all. It was good fun. Thanks a lot for doing this. Last thing, maybe just share some of the links where people can go read, not reading more, but some of the businesses you're building, hoping to bring some traffic there.
Yeah, you can email me. If you're listening or watching this, you can email me, nick@sweatystartup.com. Me and my team read them all. So yeah, that's an easy way to get in touch. But also the most visited page on my website is my 200+ business ideas. It's actually like 400+ business ideas now. So if people want to learn more, get on my newsletter, check that out. It's sweatystartup.com/ideas. But yeah, man, buy the book, give me feedback, send me an email, see if you like it. But otherwise, yeah, that's about all I got.
Good stuff. Thanks a lot for doing this, Nick.
Mick, thanks for having me.